Numbers 10. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Make for yourself 2 trumpets of ductile silver, with which you may be able to call together the multitude when the camp is to be moved. And when you sound the trumpets, all the multitude shall gather to you at the door of the tabernacle of the covenant. If you sound it only once, the leaders and the heads of the multitude of Israel shall come to you. But if the sound of the trumpets is prolonged, but with interruptions, those who are toward the east side shall move the camp first. Then, at the second sounding of the trumpet with the same cadence, those who live toward the south shall take up their tents. And the remainder shall act in like manner, when the trumpets shall reverberate for departure. But when the people are to be gathered together, the sound of the trumpets shall be simple, and the sounds shall not be separated. Now it is the sons of Aaron the priest who shall sound the trumpets. And this shall be an everlasting ordinance, in your generations. If you go forth to war from your land, against the enemies who set out against you, you shall sound the trumpets repeatedly, and there shall be a remembrance of you before the Lord your God, so that you may be rescued from the hands of your enemies. If at any time you will have a banquet, and on feast days, and on the first days of the months, you shall sound the trumpets over the holocausts and the peace offering victims, so that they may be for you as a remembrance by your God. I am the Lord your God. In the 2nd year, in the 2nd month, on the 20th day of the month, the cloud was lifted up from the tabernacle of the covenant. And the sons of Israel set out by their companies from the desert of Sinai, and the cloud rested in the wilderness of Paran. And the first to move their camp, according to the command of the Lord by the hand of Moses, were the sons of Judah by their companies, whose leader was Nahshon the son of Amminadab. In the tribe of the sons of Issachar, the leader was Nathaniel the son of Zuar. In the tribe of Zebulun, the leader was Eliab the son of Helon. And the tabernacle was taken down, because the sons of Gershon and Merari, who carry it, were departing. And the sons of Reuben also set out, by their companies and ranks, whose leader was Eleazar the son of Shitjar. And in the tribe of Simeon, the leader was Shelumiel the son of Zurishaddai. And in the tribe of Gad, the leader was Eliasaph the son of Ruel. Then the Kohathites also set out, carrying the sanctuary. The tabernacle was carried, all the while, until they arrived at the place for setting it up. The sons of Ephraim also moved their camp by their companies, and the leader of their army was Elishama the son of Ammihud. And in the tribe of the sons of Manasseh, the leader was Gamaliel the son of Pedazur. And in the tribe of Benjamin, the leader was Abidan the son of Gideoni. The last of all the camp to set out were the sons of Dan by their companies, and the leader of their army was Ahiezer the son of Ammishaddai. And in the tribe of the sons of Asher, the leader was Pagiel the son of Ochran. And in the tribe of the sons of Naphtali, the leader was Ahira the son of Enan. These were the camps and departures of the sons of Israel by their companies, when they went forth. And Moses said to Hobab the son of Ragel the Midianite, his kinsman, We are setting out to the place which the Lord will give to us. Come with us, so that we may do good to you. For the Lord has promised good things to Israel. And he answered him, I will not go with you, but I will return to my own land, in which I was born. And he said, Do not choose to leave us. For you know in which places in the desert we ought to make camp, and so you shall be our guide. And if you come with us, whatever will be best among the riches which the Lord will deliver to us, we will give to you. Therefore, they set out from the mountain of the Lord on a journey of 3 days. And the ark of the covenant of the Lord preceded them, for 3 days, in order to provide a place for the camp. Likewise, the cloud of the Lord was over them, throughout the day, while they proceeded. And when the ark was lifted up, Moses said, Rise up, O Lord, and let your enemies be scattered, and let those who hate you flee from your face. And when it was set down, he said, Return, O Lord, to the multitude of the army of Israel. Numbers 11. Meanwhile, there arose a murmur among the people against the Lord, as if they were grief-stricken because of their labors. And when the Lord had heard it, he was angry. And when the fire of the Lord was enflamed against them, it devoured those who were at the extreme end of the camp. And when the people had cried out to Moses, Moses prayed to the Lord, and the fire was consumed. And he called the name of that place, the burning, because the fire of the Lord had burned against them. So then, the mix of common people, who had ascended with them, were enflamed with desire, and sitting and weeping, with the sons of Israel joining them, they said, "Who will give us flesh to eat? We remember the fish that we ate freely in Egypt, we call to mind the cucumbers, and melons, and leeks, and onions, and garlic. Our life is dry, our eyes look out to see nothing but manna." Now the manna was like coriander seed, but with the color of bdellium. And the people wandered about, gathering it, and they crushed it with a millstone, or ground it with a mortar, then they boiled it in a pot, and made biscuits out of it, with a taste like bread made with oil. And when the dew descended in the night over the camp, the manna descended together with it. And so, Moses heard the people weeping by their families, each one at the door of his tent. And the fury of the Lord was greatly enflamed. And to Moses also the matter seemed intolerable. And so he said to the Lord, "Why have you afflicted your servant? Why do I not find favor before you? And why have you imposed the weight of this entire people upon me? Could I have conceived this entire multitude, or have given birth to them, so that you might say to me, 'Carry them in your bosom,' as a nursemaid usually carries a little infant, and bring them into the land, about which you have sworn to their fathers? From where would I obtain the flesh to give to so great a multitude? They weep against me, saying, 'Give us flesh, so that we may eat.' I alone am unable to sustain this entire people, because it is too heavy for me. But if it seems to you otherwise, I beg you to put me to death, and so may I find grace in your eyes, lest I be afflicted with such evils." And the Lord said to Moses, "Gather to me 70 men from the elders of Israel, whom you know to be elders, as well as teachers, of the people. And you shall lead them to the door of the tabernacle of the covenant, and you shall cause them to stand there with you, so that I may descend and speak to you. And I will take from your spirit, and I will deliver it to them, so that, with you, they may sustain the burden of the people, and so that you will not be weighed down alone. You shall also say to the people, 'Be sanctified. Tomorrow you will eat flesh.' For I have heard you say, 'Who will give us flesh to eat?' It was well with us in Egypt, so then, may the Lord give you flesh. And you will eat. Not for 1 day, nor for 2, nor for 5, nor for 10, nor even for 20. But for up to a month of days, until it exits from your nostrils, and until it turns into nausea for you, because you have slipped away from the Lord, who is in your midst, and because you have wept before him, saying, 'Why did we go forth out of Egypt?' And Moses said, 'There are 600,000 footmen of this people, and yet you say, I will give them flesh to eat for a whole month. Could a multitude of sheep and oxen be slain, so that there would be enough food? Or will the fishes of the sea be gathered together, in order to satisfy them?' And the Lord answered him, 'Can the hand of the Lord be ineffective? Soon now, you shall see whether my word will be fulfilled in this work.' And so, Moses went and explained the words of the Lord to the people. Gathering together 70 men from the elders of Israel, he caused them to stand around the tabernacle. And the Lord descended in a cloud, and he spoke to him, taking from the Spirit which was in Moses, and giving to the 70 men. And when the Spirit had rested in them, they prophesied, nor did they cease afterwards. Now there had remained in the camp 2 of the men, of whom one was called Eldad, and the other Medad, upon whom the Spirit rested, for they also had been enrolled, but they did not go forth to the tabernacle. And when they were prophesying in the camp, a boy ran and reported to Moses, saying, 'Eldad and Medad prophesy in the camp.' Promptly, Joshua the son of Nun, the minister of Moses and chosen from many, said, "My lord Moses, prohibit them." But he said, "Why are you jealous on my behalf? Who decides that any of the people may prophesy and that God may give to them his spirit?" And Moses returned, with those greater by birth of Israel, into the camp. Then a wind, going out from the Lord and moving forcefully across the sea, brought quails and cast them into the camp, across a distance of 1 day's journey, in every part of the camp all around, and they flew in the air 2 cubits high above the ground. Therefore, the people, rising up, gathered quails all that day and night, and the next day, he who did least well gathered 10 homers. And they dried them throughout the camp. The flesh was still between their teeth, neither had this kind of food ceased, and behold, the fury of the Lord was provoked against the people, and he struck them with an exceedingly great scourge. And that place was called, the Graves of Lust, for there, they buried the people who had desired. Then, departing from the Graves of Lust, they arrived in Hazareth, and they stayed there. Numbers 12. And Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses, because of his wife, an Ethiopian. And they said, "Has the Lord spoken only through Moses? Has he not also spoken similarly to us?" And when the Lord had heard this, immediately he spoke to him, and to Aaron and Miriam, "Go out, you 3 only, to the tabernacle of the covenant." And when they had gone out, the Lord descended in a column of cloud, and he stood at the entrance of the tabernacle, calling to Aaron and Miriam. And when they had advanced, he said to them, "Listen to my words. If there will be among you a prophet of the Lord, I will appear to him in a vision, or I will speak to him through a dream. But it is not so with my servant Moses, who is the most faithful in all my house. For I speak with him mouth to mouth, and plainly. And not through enigmas and figures does he perceive the Lord. Therefore, why were you not afraid to disparage my servant Moses?" And being angry against them, he went away. Likewise, the cloud which was over the tabernacle withdrew. And behold, Miriam appeared to be white with a leprosy, like snow. And when Aaron had looked upon her, and he had seen the spreading of the leprosy, he said to Moses, "I beg you, my lord, not to impose upon us this sin, which we have committed foolishly. Do not let this one be like one who is dead, or like an abortion that has been cast from the womb of her mother. Behold, half of her flesh is already consumed by leprosy." And Moses cried out to the Lord, saying, "O God, I beg you, heal her." And the Lord answered him, "If her father had spit on her face, should she not have been filled with shame for at least 7 days? Let her be separated, outside the camp, for 7 days, and after that, she will be called back." And so Miriam was excluded from the camp for 7 days. And the people did not move from that place, until Miriam was called back. Numbers 13. And the people set out from Hazareth, and they pitched their tents in the desert of Paran. And there, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Send men, who may examine the land of Canaan, which I will give to the sons of Israel, one from the rulers of each tribe." Moses did what the Lord had commanded, sending, from the desert of Paran, leading men, whose names are these. From the tribe of Reuben, Shammua the son of Zachar. From the tribe of Simeon, Shaphat the son of Hori. From the tribe of Judah, Caleb the son of Jephunneh. From the tribe of Issachar, Igal the son of Joseph. From the tribe of Ephraim, Hosea the son of Nun. From the tribe of Benjamin, Palti the son of Raphu. From the tribe of Zebulun, Gadiel the son of Sodi. From the tribe of Joseph, of the scepter of Manasseh, Godi the son of Susi. From the tribe of Dan, Amiel the son of Jamali. From the tribe of Asher, Sethur the son of Michael. From the tribe of Naphtali, Nabi the son of Ophsi. From the tribe of Gad, Gil the son of Maki. These are the names of the men whom Moses sent to examine the land. And he called Hosea, the son of Nun, Joshua. And so, Moses sent them to examine the land of Canaan, and he said to them, Ascend by the south side. And when you arrive at the mountains, consider the land, as to what kind it may be, and the people, who are its inhabitants, whether they may be strong or weak, whether they may be few in number or many. And the land itself, whether it is good or bad, what kind of cities, walled or without walls. The soil, rich or barren, forested or without trees. Be strong, and bring us some of the fruits of the land. Now it was the time when the first ripe grapes were ready to be eaten. And when they had ascended, they explored the land from the desert of Sin, all the way to Rehob, as one enters into Hamath. And they ascended by the south side. And they arrived at Hebron, where there were Ahiman and Shishai and Talmai, the sons of Anak. For Hebron was founded 7 years before Tanis, the city of Egypt. And continuing on as far as the torrent of the cluster of grapes, they cut off a vine with its grapes, which 2 men carried on a board. Likewise, they took from the pomegranates and the figs of that place, which was called Nehel-eshkol, that is, the torrent of the cluster of grapes, because the sons of Israel had carried a cluster of grapes from there. And those exploring the land returned after 40 days, having circulated through the entire region. And they went to Moses and Aaron, and to the entire assembly of the sons of Israel in the desert of Paran, which is in Kadesh. And speaking to them, and to the entire multitude, they showed them the fruits of the land. And they explained, saying, We went into the land, to which you sent us, which, it is true, flows with milk and honey, as one can know by these fruits. But it has very strong occupants, and the cities are great and also walled. We saw the race of Anak there. Amalek lives in the south. The Hethite, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite live in the mountains. And truly, the Canaanite stays near the sea and around the streams of the Jordan. During these events, Caleb, to restrain the murmuring of the people who rose up against Moses, said, Let us ascend and possess the land, for we will be able to obtain it. Yet truly, the others, who had been with him, were saying, By no means are we able to ascend to this people, because they are stronger than we are. And before the sons of Israel they disparaged the land, which they had inspected, saying, The land, which we viewed, devours its inhabitants. The people, upon whom we gazed, were of lofty stature. There, we saw some monsters among the sons of Anak, of the race of giants. By comparison with them, we seemed like locusts. Numbers 14. And so, crying out, the entire crowd wept throughout that night. And all the sons of Israel were murmuring against Moses and Aaron, saying, If only we had died in Egypt, and, if only we would perish in this vast wilderness, and, may the Lord not lead us into this land, lest we fall by the sword, and our wives, as well as our children, be led away as captives. Is it not better to return to Egypt? And they said to one another, Let us appoint our leader, and so return to Egypt. And when Moses and Aaron heard this, they fell prone on the ground in the sight of the multitude of the sons of Israel. Yet truly, Joshua the son of Nun, and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, who themselves had also viewed the land, tore their garments. And they said to the entire multitude of the sons of Israel, The land that we circled through is very good. If the Lord will be gracious to us, he will lead us into it, and he will give us the land flowing with milk and honey. Do not choose to be rebellious against the Lord. And do not fear the people of this land, for, like bread, so are we able to devour them. All protection has withdrawn from them. The Lord is with us. Do not be afraid. And when the entire multitude cried out, and they wanted to crush them with stones, the glory of the Lord appeared, over the roof of the covenant, to all the sons of Israel. And the Lord said to Moses, How long will this people disparage me? How long will they refuse to believe me, despite all the signs that I have wrought before them? Therefore, I will strike them with a pestilence, and so I will consume them. But you I will make the ruler over a great nation, and one which is mightier than this one. And Moses said to the Lord, But then the Egyptians, from whose midst you led out this people, and the inhabitants of this land, who have heard that you, O Lord, are among this people, and that you are seen face to face, and that your cloud protects them, and that you go before them with a column of cloud by day, and a column of fire by night, may hear that you have killed so great a multitude, as if they were one man, and they may say, He was not able to lead the people into the land about which he had sworn. Therefore, he slew them in the wilderness. Therefore, may the strength of the Lord be magnified, just as you swore, saying, The Lord is patient and full of mercy, taking away iniquity and wickedness, and forsaking no one who is harmless. He visits the sins of the fathers upon the sons, to the third and fourth generation. Forgive, I beg you, the sins of this people, according to the greatness of your mercy, just as you have been gracious to them in their journey from Egypt to this place. And the Lord said, I have forgiven them according to your word. Also, as I live, the entire world shall be filled with the glory of the Lord. And yet, all the men who have seen my majesty, and the signs that I have wrought in Egypt and in the wilderness, and who have tested me 10 times already, and yet have not obeyed my voice, these shall not see the land, about which I swore to their fathers, neither shall any of those who detracted me gaze upon it. My servant Caleb, who, being full of another spirit, has followed me, I will lead into this land, through which he has wandered, and his offspring shall possess it. For the Amalekites and the Canaanites live in the valleys. Tomorrow, move the camp and return into the wilderness, by the way of the Red Sea. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, How long will this very wicked multitude murmur against me? I have heard the complaints of the sons of Israel. Therefore, say to them, As I live, says the Lord, as you spoke in my hearing, so will I do to you. In the wilderness, here shall your carcasses lie. All you who were numbered from 20 years and above, and who have murmured against me. You shall not enter into the land, over which I lifted up my hand to cause you to live there, except Caleb the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua the son of Nun. But your little ones, about whom you said that they would be a prey to the enemies, I will lead them in, so that they may see the land that has displeased you. Your carcasses shall lie in the wilderness. Your sons shall wander in the desert for 40 years, and they shall bear your fornication, until the carcasses of their fathers are consumed in the desert. According to the number of the 40 days, during which you examined the land, 1 year shall be charged for each day. And so, for 40 years you shall take back your iniquities, and you shall know my retribution. For just as I have spoken, so shall I do, to this entire most wicked multitude, which has risen up together against me. In the wilderness, here shall it fade away and die. Therefore, all the men, whom Moses had sent to contemplate the land, and who, having returned, had caused the entire multitude to murmur against him, disparaging the land as if it were evil, suffered death and were struck down in the sight of the Lord. But only Joshua the son of Nun, and Caleb the son of Jephunneh remained alive, out of all those who had journeyed to examine the land. And Moses spoke all these words to all the sons of Israel, and the people mourned exceedingly. And behold, rising up at first light, they climbed to the top of the mountain, and they said, We are prepared to ascend to the place, about which the Lord has spoken, for we have sinned. And Moses said to them, Why do you transgress the word of the Lord, merely because it will not result in prosperity for you? Do not ascend, for the Lord is not with you, lest you be overthrown before your enemies. The Amalekite and the Canaanite are before you, by whose sword you shall be ruined, for you were not willing to consent to the Lord, and so the Lord is not with you. But they, having been darkened, ascended to the top of the mountain. But the ark of the testament of the Lord, and Moses, did not withdraw from the camp. And the Amalekites descended, along with those Canaanites who were living in the mountains. And so, striking and cutting them down, they pursued them all the way to Hormah. Numbers 15. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel, and you shall say to them, when you will have entered into the land of your habitation, which I will give you, and you make an offering to the Lord, as a holocaust or as a victim, paying your vows, or as a voluntary offering of gifts, or in your solemnities, burning a sweet odor to the Lord, whether from the oxen or from the sheep. Whoever immolates the victim shall offer a sacrifice of fine wheat flour, the 10th part of an ephah, sprinkled with oil, which shall have the measure of the 4th part of a hin. And he shall give the same measure of wine, poured out as libations, whether as a holocaust or as a victim. With each lamb and each ram, there shall be a sacrifice of fine wheat flour, of 2/10, which shall be sprinkled with 1/3 part of a hin of oil. And he shall offer the same measure, 1/3 part of wine, for the libation, as a sweet odor to the Lord. Yet truly, when you will offer, from the oxen, a holocaust or a victim, in order to fulfill your vow or for peace offering victims, you shall give, for each ox, 3/10 of fine wheat flour, sprinkled with oil, which has the measure of 1/2 of one hin. And the wine, poured out as libations, shall be of the same measure, as an oblation of most sweet odor to the Lord. So shall you do. For each ox, and ram, and lamb, and young goat, both natives and sojourners, shall offer sacrifices by the same rituals. There shall be one precept and one judgment, as much for yourselves as for newcomers to the land. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel, and you shall say to them, when you will arrive in the land which I will give to you, and when you will eat from the bread of that region, you shall separate the first fruits to the Lord from the foods that you eat, just as you separate the first fruits of your threshing floors. So also shall you give the first fruits of your cooked grains to the Lord. And if, through ignorance, you neglect any of these things, which the Lord has spoken to Moses, and which he has commanded through him for you, from the day that he began to command and thereafter, and if the multitude will have forgotten to do it, then they shall offer a calf from the herd, a holocaust as a most sweet odor to the Lord, and its sacrifice and libations, just as the ceremonies ask, and a he-goat for sin. And the priest shall pray for the entire multitude of the sons of Israel, and it shall be forgiven them, because they did not sin willfully. Nevertheless, they shall offer incense to the Lord for themselves, and for sin, as well as for their error. And it shall be forgiven all the people of the sons of Israel, as well as the newcomers who sojourn among them, for it is the culpability of all the people through neglect. But if one soul will have sinned by not knowing, he shall offer a 1-year-old she-goat for his sin. And the priest shall pray for him, because he sinned unknowingly before the Lord. And he shall obtain pardon for him, and it will be forgiven him. One law shall be for all who sin by ignorance, as much for natives as for newcomers. Yet truly, the soul who commits any of these acts through arrogance, whether he is a citizen or a sojourner, because he has rebelled against the Lord, shall perish from among his people. For he has despised the word of the Lord, and he has nullified his precept. For this reason, he shall be destroyed, and he shall bear his iniquity. And it happened that, when the sons of Israel were in the wilderness, and they had found a man collecting wood on the day of the Sabbath, they brought him to Moses and Aaron, and to the whole multitude. And they enclosed him in a prison, not knowing what they should do with him. And the Lord said to Moses, Let that man be put to death, let the entire crowd crush him with stones, outside the camp. And when they had let him out, they overwhelmed him with stones, and he died, just as the Lord had instructed. The Lord also said to Moses, "Speak to the sons of Israel, and you shall tell them to make for themselves hems at the corners of their cloaks, placing in them ribbons of hyacinth. So that, when they see these, they may remember all the commandments of the Lord, and they may not follow their own thoughts and eyes, fornicating in various ways. But instead, they, being more mindful of the precepts of the Lord, may do them and may be holy to their God. I am the Lord your God, who led you away from the land of Egypt, so that I may be your God." Thank you for watching. If you like the content on this channel, please press subscribe, the like button or comment below. We'd love to get your tips. See you next time.